What up, guys? Welcome back. I'm here with my friend Leo Moore.
Yo,
We're in-
yo,
What up?
how are we?
Good. Thanks for coming on.
Yeah,
So
super
we're
excited.
we're in London. Leo and I work together for client ascension, and Leo just came in and started doing like offer stuff and stuff like that. So we're gonna talk a little bit about my offer, and you're kind of gonna see him do his thing live. And yeah, we just got off a kind of a work combo, so we're a little.
Yep, yep, yep.
Well, yeah. Tell him a little bit about like your background and what you do and stuff.
So, yes, I'm Leo. Thanks for the intro. Yeah, so my background's in sales, and now I run a sales and marketing company that's sort of based around like content-based selling, like VSLs, long-form copy, and then the sales process off the back of that. So it's a good time to chat to Trina just about how to position it in the market, that sort of stuff, how to sell a fuck ton of offers. But obviously Trina's more on the sort of, I want to help people side. I'm more on the sales side and the help people side, of course, because it's the same thing. But yeah, I'm keen to get stuck in.
Yeah. So essentially my offer has kind of like the work of it. People typically like come up with their offer first and then start ripping, right? Or like at least decide what they want to try to rip. Mine has kind of gone backwards where I've like been able to help people before I have offer clarity. And like I've previously positioned as inner work guide.
Yep.
Now it's kind of like fractional guidance because it can touch like life areas and also what I know of, the online world and like business and stuff like that.
Yep. Well, I guess where you want to start is like, what's the pain point that you're solving? Because I'd imagine that the trend is that everyone's going really far away from this. It's turning into like Wall-E in terms of the world. Like everything's turning very AI based. Everything's turning very like fucking tech matrix, blah, blah, blah. Like it's a very easy selling proposition is that people need to like feel connection, and people are very like misguided spiritually and fucking emotionally. Like everything's super, super trash.
Right.
And that's like personal experience if you're happy. So, I mean, that's kind of where you want to lead from. And then you can reference off that and think like, okay, who do I enjoy the most servicing? Because I think it's probably for you, it's more about not only can they pay, but also like, who do you want to help? Who do you resonate worse with as well?
I mean, obviously I'm mostly exposed to online business owners.
Yeah.
Like in our like money Twitter corner, client ascension corner of the internet. So that's ended up being a lot of the like people I've helped.
And that's where your case studies are as well.
Yeah. Like I have case studies from people that found me. One of the main entry points of the person I worked with the longest found me through a tweet about parent wounds.
Yeah.
But now they are trying to like start their own online business and they are familiar with money Twitter world.
So are these people that want to make money and that's why they're reaching out to you, or are these people that are more on the side of how can I like heal? Because I'd imagine it's kind of, they want to heal because they want to make more money.
Both, which is not a clarifying answer. Like at first it was about heal, and then that doesn't always attract the kind of people I want to work with, right? Like I'm not just here to like I can't work with you if you only want to just talk about your feelings and like not do anything about it. And now I've bumped into people that I've helped that maybe even explicitly said like, I wouldn't have sought you out to talk about my problems, especially with with those kinds of angles of like, oh, talk to this chick about like your feelings or the need to heal or personal development. But because the entry point was something business related, like clarity on, action to take in their offer, their lead gen, their sales, whatever it was. And then, it touches like personal things or just they get clarity on their business journey as a whole, which touches everything. A lot of the more recent stuff, and probably the bulk of it now, has been through that as the entry point. So maybe that's.
Yeah. So it's like the front end of, oh, like we need help. Like, don't know what I'm doing. Like I'm not that mentally clear. I think the front end could pretty easily be something along those lines of, targeting those people, and the way that you'd want to find that state is like for the people that you've worked with so far, like describe where they started in as much detail as possible is where you would probably want to start from. So like when they came to you and that first call, when they were describing, okay, this is a situation, this is how I feel, or whatever it may be, this is the problem that I'm facing. What are the most common things that they're saying on those calls?
I guess a common denominator on them is like the entrepreneur business journey gets kind of funky and lonely. And they don't always say the word lonely, right? But like, you know, you just get really overwhelmed, and it's nice to have a conversation where, like, it's not, you don't want to just like spill. They're good leaders, right? Like they don't want to just bitch about these internal bottlenecks to like their team members, their clients, even their partner, right? Like a lot of them have like,
they've got no one to vent to.
Right. And it's a weird thing to like volunteer the need for as a person in a leadership position like that. But then, you know, you get into a conversation where with somebody who has that combo of interests. And it's like, I guess it's like clarity and like clear. I always refer to it as like internal bottlenecks. Like whether it starts in the head and it's like, where do I go? Or it's like, oh shit, this is really messing with me. And I needed to address that, but I probably wouldn't have sought out addressing a feeling.
Yeah. So I think it's interesting because that kind of made me think of doing like a low ticket offer where you would have a community. But I'd imagine that it'd be hard to get these types of characters to open up on a group setting. Like I'd imagine it'd have to be kind of private, pretty like almost like NDA level stuff. But at the same time, I do think the internal bottleneck angle is really good too, because almost everyone is aware, and you can use this in the way you sell it as well, that like the personal side of business will just continually fuck you up. You're just going to continually walk in a circle no matter how big or how much money you make. If you have if your internal is just completely fucked, you're never making any like insane amount of money. Like you're always going to just like, there's going to be just a new problem at every level, whether you're just completely unhappy, whether you blow it up, whether you self-sabotage, all this stuff. So people that are pretty big in a business space talk about that. Like pretty well documented how pertinent that is, where people have hella personal issues, blah, 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 they'll fuck up a million times. And then eventually they'll fix it and then they'll scale. That's pretty much what happens. They have tons of bottlenecks and they'll fix it and they'll scale. So what you want to almost lead with is like, if you're facing if you're facing copious amounts of personal issues in the business and you feel, because they know it as well, they'll, and you can play into it too.
So that speaks to like level of awareness.
If they sort of feel like something is wrong and they don't know what it is, that's the person that you're looking for. But I agree, it's really difficult to sort of think of a way to position it when there's such an ego game going on.
Right. Right. Because also, like, even when I've gotten these testimonials and they refer to it in that way that you just described, it's like, obviously we just skim the surface, but I don't think that really, does that matter?
Well, I mean, over time, it'll get much easier, but the way you need to market it is very much saying what you've done for other people and then saying, look, this person came to me, and I don't know if you post about it, but this person came to me, blah, blah, blah. We did this. We talked about this. X, Y, Z.
See, I struggle with that, right? Because I don't want to talk about what we talked about. It's such a funny hybrid, right? Because like you have like spiritual, like Bali leaning healers who have no knowledge of what you like do in like a business sense. And then you have like business sense that is like, okay, come on, get up and grind, like get your shit, like get your head out of your ass. And I'm kind of in the middle.
Do they know that they have like a specific type of trauma? Like, are they aware of that? Because if they're aware, like if you can literally call out like, hey, like if you have daddy issues, like I've solved someone's daddy issues, or like if you have this specific, like, I don't even know what it is. It's like a trauma path, or it's like some type of.
Not all of them. At least most of them are aware enough to like be like, yeah, I know that like I went through this in my past, and they're smart enough to know that informs something about them. Not that they pay much attention to it, but they're like, yeah.
So if you can call out situations,
okay,
you can do extremely fucking well, because there's a few very sort of trademark like trauma, right? So if it's like, if you can say 99%, like 99% of the time, if you exhibit this trait in your relationship, we can pretty much determine that it's because your fucking dad worked too much when you were a kid, and this is happening for this reason, blah, blah, blah. That's a very easy to say, if you want this, like if you want to address this and not have it fuck up your business time and time again, book a call and pay me like copious amounts of money. Like that's where you take the angle of you explaining the situation. Because what I was trying to get at before is, if you can just give them like an available list of all the potential things that they might be able to solve with you for this specific offer, if you can hit someone with their exact problem at their exact time that they're like ready to, then you'll be able to convert them. If you can call it quick, because you know well enough, like, you know, it's not even an ICP, like, you know, the human experience well enough to where if you can like explain a situation, and that situation, if it's relevant enough, I feel like they'll reach out.
That makes sense.
Yeah.
Wait, so my question becomes, that Tinder entry point,
Yep.
is that at odds with
The selling?
yeah, like, I mean, if you're a man, like with a presence or like, you know, ego or whatever it is, like, and that would the Tinder entry point be at odds with, like, I don't want anyone to know that I got help for this?
Yeah. I think yes, in a way, but at the same time, if they're not aware enough to reach out after getting hit that hard with copy, then they're probably not buyers for you. Like, they're probably not going to convert. Like, they're probably not the people that you want on calls anyway.
Okay.
If they're not at least sort of, because what you need to do is find people that are on the edge.
It's almost like solution oriented, but also a little bit of emotional intelligence.
Yes, like they need to be aware enough that they have something that they don't really love about themselves, like about their situation. And whether that's, you can probably figure out what are the most common problems that you're facing personally, and you can do that market research, and then all of a sudden you take that market research, and then you might say, okay, these are the 3 biggest problems that are causing people bottlenecks. We can just target them, explain them in the copy, go through this, go through that. And you can just you can kind of make it a really down to earth thing. But at the same time, if you do actually want to reach people that are facing these things that you can help them with, then you really need to just dial in the exact things that they're facing.
Right.
Because if you can do that, thanks, like solve.
And I'm all over the place with like trying to speak to pain points now that I'm actually like trying to display what I do.
Exactly.
So that's a little bit clearer, and it clarifies like an awareness level, right?
Yes.
And like an emotional sophistication level, because you can't just be like the guy who's like, oh no, well fuck that, it didn't matter, it doesn't matter what I went through. Like, you also have to kind of be a little sophisticated there.
Yeah. Because they have to be, if they're gonna be interested in this type of service, they just have to be like problem aware, like at least. It'd be rare that someone will be solution aware, at least like aware of what you do exactly. But what you need to do is just make sure that people know that if they do have any sort of problem, that you're probably like a good person to reach out to. And that comes from articulating their problems really clearly. And as well as on YouTube, you can just make specific videos about like how to get over a breakup, for example.
That is something that
if someone clicks that video, that's like super high intent. Like they're going through that shit now. Like, it's very rare that anyone not going through a breakup or anyone like at least not a bit jaded about a breakup is done. So all of a sudden you can go through and make it a mere yourself and just talk about, look, normally when people go through breakups, they're sort of, you know, they can't get out of bed, like their business kind of, you know, it's a little bit of a bottleneck. Their team might start looking at it a bit different, blah, 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 blah. So typically the way that I see fixing it is like typically the best way is A, B, C, D, E, F, G. If you want help with this, probably help you on a more personal basis. You know, you can book something like that. And it might even be a thing where that's where the low ticket group or maybe a one-off consulting call might help.
Right. And that makes sense because it's a like an perfect specific example of something that would clearly emotionally mess with you and be blatantly messing with you handling your shit, like in your job or career or whatever.
So the hook that you mentioned where it might be hard for these types of characters to reach out, the hook becomes the problem. So it's not necessarily something with an offer, like it's more just about the basic copy. The offer is essentially, I'll help you release your internal bottom that are stopping for business. And you can chuck a guarantee on that if you really want, but it's probably not necessary. Because if a lot of the times, if someone has something this bad, like if it's actually impacting them, like they'll probably say like, if you can fix this, like, fuck yeah. I mean, like, let's do it.
Guarantee thing is so interesting to me to even consider. Like I'm pretty sure like I have some sort of clause like in my contract that I don't really care about. I've been wising up on like that kind of stuff, right? I'm very intangibles. But realistically, I have full confidence in like if we get to a point of clarity on an actionable that would actually help you move through and break through something, and you do it, it's kind of like the stipulation thing, right? Like if you do it, like I'm pretty much guaranteed that you're gonna move past this. that's interesting that you brought up guarantees.
Well,
I'm just kind of
I mean, you can kind of give a satisfaction guarantee, but I wouldn't want to put that in the contract.
I don't care about. I don't even want to like have to talk about that.
Yeah,
Right?
exactly.
Like I almost, I don't know if this is like pride or ego, but I'm almost like, if you're gonna show up and you want my help, like you need to be willing to like, you need to already be willing. I'm almost not willing to like convince you that you need this, which is why I want and intentionally want to be just like an inbound referrals offer, and am. Like I already was before I had any intentionality behind it, just because I don't like outreach, even though I work in these spaces, right, where they're like pump and cold email and like do like have all these great outreach strategies, but like I don't want that to be my thing. Because I almost feel like I personally feel disingenuous pulling up like, yo, you're going through this, I can help you.
Yeah, no, I wouldn't.
That's almost like savior complex to me.
I wouldn't do any outreach for this offer.
Yeah.
Like,
okay.
Like a maximum.
That's helpful to get validation.
A maximum would be ads, like maximum.
Which is going to be my social media.
Yeah, but social media is India. I think that is just making it super positive sum, meaning that, look, I'm going to give you what you want, which is your fucking internal bottlenecks that have been holding you back from everything in your life and being happy. I'm going to fix that for you, and you can just make sure that I can fucking go to Portugal and live on the beach and do whatever I want. I mean, that's kind of like the positive sum, is that you both get what you want.
Facts.
Yeah. That's like the crux. I think that's pretty, like, if you can list out and use ChatGPT as well, that's a little hack for everyone. Just use ChatGPT.
He's coming on my YouTube channel, talk about AI immediately.
To list all the potential problems that someone who's running a business might face emotionally.
Okay, fair.
And you can do all this stuff, and you really define, like, look at your past clients, look at their situation, and like define them. You're like, okay, they were a 20-year-old business owner who's, you know, got this X, Y, and Z, like define their situation very clearly based on what you know about them. Chuck it into ChatGPT, and then say, what might 10 problems they face emotionally and spiritually be?
Okay.
And then you can say, extrapolate on that and give 2 to 3 implications, second and third order implications as well, that can tell me about maybe why that's such a problem to them and why they might want to fix it.
That's funny that you say that, because it kind of comes full circle in my opinion, where I thought of a bunch of examples just now, and it was still a variety of entry points. For example, one of them was young goon, like taking off an online business. I'm sure it's fine to say his name, like I have testimonials, whatever, but I'm just not gonna for now. And my parents like want me to go to college. I'm trying to drop out. Right. Another one is like, I'm a married man, and this trauma like kind of just resurfaced. My family trauma from the past kind of resurfaced, and now it's a problem in my marriage, and that's messing with work. Another one is just like business clarity, and then realizing like there were some personal things they want to prioritize. Another one is like, oh, I'm trying to re-engage this chick who found out some shit about me, and it's like like and then another one is like somebody stuck at home like under cultural stuff and knows they have like family trauma to work through, but want to like build their own life and business. Like there's all these different entry points. Sometimes it's just as simple as like, yo, I like this chick. Like, what should I say? Like it's, or I'm overwhelmed with work. Like I'm experiencing burnout. Like, what should I do?
And there's plenty of ways to skin a cat.
So it's okay that they're all
just YouTube video ideas.
Okay, cool.
Because you don't want someone to come to you that's not really warm and don't like need something solved, unless you want to just be friends, which is obviously, that's fun, but it's not exactly like commerce. Commerce is when someone says, I have a problem that I want to solve, willing to pay because it's worth more to me to solve the problem than whatever the price is.
So it's okay for it to kind of have that.
Yeah. If you look at it positive sum, it's like, if someone has water in the fucking desert and I'm like haven't drunk water in 3 years, however long, 3 days, how much is that bottle of water worth to?
Right.
Like I'll pay anything because it's positive sum, because the value of the water to me is probably going to be worth a priceless amount because to live. To them, the bottle of water is worth nothing because they might have 10. So, you can have one for $5,000, whatever. Cool. Because I've still got value that was greater than the amount that I gave.
Mm-hmm.
That's basic crux.
Fire. Cool.
Bars.
Cool. So I thought I was gonna have to like shrink down these entry points.
You can make them broad. You can make them big. That's why I said talk to Jake as well, because he's just good at positioning video titles.
That's that YouTube guy you were talking about, right?
Yeah, Jake Trinder. He's just good at positioning stuff in the headline to make it appeal to a very specific audience that is facing that thing.
Okay.
So there's just a lot of different ways that you can attack it. And I think being targeted on a micro level where you have one video that's very, very targeted. Like if you have this problem, this video is specifically made for you and the subset of people like under that. And then over time, you just make videos that can target anyone pretty much, because it's like shooting a sniper. Like it's very targeted, but you might have a lot of bullets.
Okay, cool. Yeah, like wide net, but
yeah.
Damn, that's fire.
That's hella bars.
Do you think it's silly to call it fractional guide?
Fractional guides are very Twitter.
Right? Oh, is it?
Yeah.
So the word fractional was actually suggested by Nabil, a copywriter. Do you know that?
Everyone wants to be fractional.
And at the time I was like, maybe I'm amused. Like maybe you talk to me with good ideas. Like I was trying to like, why do I knock on myself like a life coach, right? Because people look at me like, what?
I think
20-something-year-old ass. They're not life coaching people.
Well, I think you could be. Yeah, I don't even know. Spiritual guide.
But I don't want it to just be right. I like that hybrid, and I not only like it, but it's my jam.
You could just call it a mentorship as well. You could call yourself a mentor, which is true. Like,
coach doesn't resonate. Why doesn't that resonate?
Because it's cringe.
Is it?
Coaching's cringe. Coaching's super.
Well, he's a coach. We're in coaching space, and we're like, fuck coaching.
Yeah, coaching. Yeah, I think that's. I mean, if you can position it as that, all you can do to get clients is just post fucking hella YouTube videos about specific problems, and people will reach out for sure.
So simple.
Yeah, so fucking simple.
Dope. Anything else that you notice in that world right now, or like with the AI stuff? I don't even know how AI is part of your jam. Were you already into it? I was so resistant to it at first.
AI.
Okay.
Yeah, I use AI for everything.
Cool. But you have a very human touch to things. That was never really a concern for you. Okay.
Yeah. You know, it's just, if you can be funny and just add like a lot of my stuff's written with AIs.
How'd you figure out you were good at copy?
I started posting.
That's it?
On Twitter. Yeah. Because because I was in sales at the time, a lot of sales guys just had no Twitter game. Like they just sucked. They just didn't know how to like operate in the space. So I just started posting. I was like, oh, fuck it. I actually quote. Yeah. And then I started posting sales letters, got some resonance. Yeah, and the rest was history. People ask how I got good as well. I'm like, bro, I just read and watched copy. And I just was like, oh, that's how you do it? Like, I just did it. And I just kept doing it.
It's funny, like me, Leo was like, I've been on Twitter forever, but I didn't dive. A lot of people dive into money Twitter because they want to make money. But you kind of ended up there like I did, right? Like I was kind of just there because I loved, at the time, like I got a high school plastic trophy that says Miss Twitter, class of 2013. But at the time, it was just stupid, like high school musings of like bitching about my boyfriend and posting lyrics that resonate. And then years down the road, like bumped into like self-development Twitter with like Alexander Cortez and Ed Latmore before money Twitter was a thing. And still didn't start trying to work or make money online till a couple of years ago, like with the pandemic. You said something that resonated with that about like, you didn't really jump in to make money, or how did you get there?
No, I did need to make money.
Okay.
I did need to make money. So I was in this was like last year, semester 1. So 2022, January to June, July, like literally about 1 year ago. It's actually 360 or 359 days since my first dollar online.
Tripping.
Crazy. And what happened was I just hated uni. I wanted to leave.
What were you going to school for?
I was doing arts and I was going to do law.
Oh, you did art?
Yeah.
Dope.
Because I'm a writer.
Yeah.
Like, which is like a writer and a talker and a communicator.
Whenever I first followed you on Twitter with some philosophical shit.
Yeah, exactly. Like
you are way more like business talk now.
Yeah, because I'm selling.
Right.
But that's just because the philosophical stuff is like, it's underneath the style.
Right.
So it's all like persuasion and communication. It's all based on that. So I actually look back and like I was actually big into Nietzsche.
Cool.
Last year, and it was a big part because I was like, just fuck everything. Like, things dumb. I'm just going to do what I want. Like, the whole part of it is like, just disregard external feedback. The only thing that matters is like internal feedback. So I was like, okay, I'm just going to do what I want. And that was when I was in crypto. I was sort of in that space. I was in crypto Twitter. And then I sort of just stumbled upon Daniel Fazio, Cold Emo Wizard, legend. And I joined his Internet Money. So I was in Internet Money.
Oh.
I was a big fan of Internet Money. And I gave myself 3 weeks to get a client because I just had to see that it was real. and I was in my uni holidays. So I had 3 weeks of holidays. And I said, if I got a client, I wouldn't go back. I would defer. I would have a gap semester. I got a client in like 2 weeks, made my first 2K online. And ever since then.
What was the client in?
Email marketing.
Okay.
Yeah. But I sucked at email marketing, which is that's neither here nor there. I wasn't that good, but I was good at sales. So that's when I doubled down on remote sales, because before that I'd had a sales job as well. Like that was just my job because I was good at like communicating, and I didn't even realize that sales was a real thing, to be honest. I just thought it was like a wagey job in the workforce, and you're just like,
yeah, you have that like cliche, like normal perception of like car salesman.
Yeah, exactly. Like that was just me. Like I was just fucking selling energy. And then I just kept making money, and
here we are.
And then a year later, like my whole life is just online. And so
it's funny because
it is money, but it's also
life.
It's a weird background that I have.
That's what I mean, that it touches everything. Because once you have an entry point, like to like whatever, I was saying with Leo, like I've talked to people like Pat Stedman, who's a relationship and dating coach, and like health and fitness coaches, like my brother, Coach Paul from Muscle, who does like training. And like you have all of these people.
Your brother?
He's not my real brother. We just make that joke because we're both Asian, and like they're like, what? But he's like my brother. He's like my brother from another mother.
Classic.
But like you end up talking to people about this stuff. You always end up touching more than one area because it touches everything. Like personal problems and personal strengths are business problems and business strengths.
I think it's interesting as well because I feel like there's certain people that have really broad ranges of interest as well.
Yeah.
So it just so happens that people love, brute to force, who's like the intersection of going to the gym, making money, and then like philosophy as well. Sometimes like the strangest thing ever. And then, people will like, there's just different characters that have like a different Venn diagram and different overlaps and stuff like that. So you kind of get dragged in for no reason at times, but it's like kind of productive.
But it's fun. It's just another entry.
You can afford to branch
That's
out.
what I think about. Like, I love the whole personal brand culture. Like that part of it, I really, really, really love. And I'm biased because like I showed up to just like talk my shit before I ever had any like intentionality behind it. But I also think there's something to it now. Like I think that's actually become validated because people connect with you for like just like kind of how you talk, like how you see life, and then you're top of mind for what your jam is in business.
That's crazy because when someone says like, oh, your shit is so, and you were just like not doing anything forced and it was just very natural, that's a good source of validation.
Yeah.
I know exactly what you're talking about.
Yeah.
But it kind of requires authenticity though, which can be lost at times.
Yeah. We see a lot of that in our space where it's like the opposite, right? Because like we lived in the real world before building on the internet, and that would typically be an intuitive path. But we encounter a lot of the opposite, right? When people like live so chronically online that we have this like, if you're not in our corner of the internet,
chronically
online, like
that's funny.
One of the inside jokes of our corner of the internet, if you're not on it watching this, is like touch grass. It's like touch grass, bro. Like put your phone down and like go touch grass. Like what are you talking about? Do you live in the real world? Like
even myself on Twitter, for example, I don't really talk about any of this stuff because I'm just like a business brand now, more than before. But like you're a business brand, yeah, exactly. So I think what ends up happening is that you might post a lot of stuff, and then the stuff that gets validated with like fucking engagement, followers, whatever it is, that's what you end up doubling down on. So that's why the space as a whole, I think Twitter more so than YouTube, you can't really get that much of a feel for someone. Like you'll have people that post tweets and then you might resonate with them, and then you meet them, you talk to them, have a call, whatever, do a podcast, whatever. And that's when you're like, oh, Twitter's fucking dope. Twitter's dope. But before you go past the wall of just tweeting and shit, it's kind of like, you're just reading.
That's a very nuanced thing to bring because like, yeah, you just don't get the chunk of them and their interests or whatever that you get exposed to doesn't necessarily represent how much that is prominent in who they are in real life.
Like Twitter is probably the most parochial or limited. It's probably the most limited insight of any of the social medias into someone's life. Like next to
I disagree.
Because
Instagram is, in my opinion, way more because I love that we all think about that. I mean, it's changed more because people are marketing more intentionally. Like, hello, that
might have to be a nuanced take though, because there is nuance there.
But tweets are like thought bubbles, whereas Instagram is like, look at my life.
I think Twitter at its best, that doesn't apply. So Twitter at its best obviously everyone's just sharing thoughts. It's like this fucking utopia of everyone just fucking frolicking in the grass and just reading meditations by Mark Jerome. Like, obviously, like, that's at the top end, but at when it's shit and it's just like, oh, what the fuck it's so easy to copy and paste a tweet. Like, so easy to you can just read something and then tweet it the next day as if you're like it can be so, it's so much easier to fabricate.
The point, you can fabricate on visuals too.
Yeah, but it's so much easier. Like, insane amounts easier to fabricate.
Okay. I guess I have a biased look of that.
Type, like,
I think of Instagram and I think of like all the Photoshop.
Yeah, but
you're thinking of like idea Photoshop.
That's what I mean. Like, Twitter and Instagram in terms of the fabrication are really close together. Like, in order to not fabricate, you actually need to be on YouTube. And obviously there's still scammers on fucking everywhere.
Everywhere.
Like, yeah, like everywhere. Like, I mean, in terms of like,
you're right.
The connection is all like, it's all video and it's all calls and it's all long form.
Yeah, it's wow. Damn.
Right. Real.
Yeah. Cause like watching somebody in the flesh is so much more all encompassing.
Like, I bet if someone's from Twitter, they probably think I look different. Like, they probably look at my face and be like, oh, like, just because of the angle of the profile picture that I look at all the time when I see Leo.
Guys don't know how
to, weird.
Guys don't know how to take pictures of their angles.
Yeah, I got fuck all. But like, I got one picture from like, that's not even a new picture. That's like a 2-year-old picture. Like,
really? Your vibe
like
is super straight.
Old.
That's funny because when we met a bunch of people who work online with us in the flesh this weekend. And that was like the most common topic is like, am I like in real life? Like what you thought online? Some people, it's like you're better in real life. Sometimes you're better online. And sometimes it's like exactly what it is. I would say yours is pretty straightforward.
Well, I feel like I just flex different strengths.
Yeah.
Because in person, it's obviously more like you're just like relating to them. Whereas online, I'll post more about copy. I'll post more about like business shit. And people will be like, oh, like, that's actually an interesting insight.
Yeah.
Whereas in real life, I'm much more like,
you're not trying to put your authority in the room.
Yeah. In real life.
But if it happens, like it's a byproduct.
Yeah. In real life, I'm much more of a listener.
You are.
I'm much more of a listener.
Yeah.
Yeah. Because I did a test. I'm like 49% extroverted, 51% introvert.
I'm 47 introvert. So you're an ambivert too.
Yeah. It's like close.
It's like, 3% marginal difference basically means you're like 2 personality types. Schizo.
Facts.
Like,
but yeah. I think people that listen more are smarter. Like, hot take. Probably not, but yeah, what do you think? Listening or talking, what's better? What indicates intelligence? It's probably like a fucking completely generalized thing. It's probably biased because I'm naturally like that.
I'm gonna be super like both nuanced. I'm gonna be like, if you don't have enough extroversion, like you're never getting that social feedback. We grow so much through our relationships.
Yeah, facts.
Not just romantic relationships. I always feel like I have to clarify that for some reason. Like when I say relationships, we're like, oh, love, like, yeah, but also like relationships with people you work with and like platonic relationships. Like you learn so much through your interactions with other people and like feedback from people and social situations. But also, if you never spend like internal time just like processing the shit that you've been listening to and taking in and like don't have your own internal world where you can just like go like be somewhere and like think through shit and just have that inner voice and stuff, then I think you're also screwed. So I don't know if I can assign one as more important.
Yeah, it was fucking super generalized to say, but just fucking do both. Don't be a weirdo. Is it?
But you sit in the middle with me, and I do think people lean more towards one or the other.
Yeah, typically.
So,
but yeah,
wise.
Each their own.
What?
Each to their own.
Yeah. I think everybody's a fucking collage of shit. That's my big thing. What do you think about my like me trying to double down on the angle of like discernment and nuance?
Yeah,
honestly.
I think it's obvious. Like it's obviously a positive thing, but it's when you do that, it's just difficult to like.
It's unclear.
It's difficult to be definitive. The classic. If you're everyone's, friend, a friend to all is a friend to none.
No, that's really good because what the feedback you just gave me on how to like come up with content ideas and how specific to get with it is it kind of in opposition to that.
Yes. Because marketing as a whole has to be super specific.
That's always been our weakness.
It's just got to be super specific. Like if you say, okay, my favorite person I deal with as a client is like always a young, like just fucking, for example, it's always a young girl who's like wants to balance out like the feminine and masculine because they want to do like business, but they want to have good relationships, blah, blah, blah. If you say that's the person that you want, you just have to speak directly to them and never anyone else. Even if you say shit that's dumb, but might be perceived as dumb to someone else. So for example, if I'm targeting a consumer for a client, I'm going to talk very like a biz op. I'm going to talk very differently to how I talk on Twitter, because I talk on Twitter specifically to make dumbasses not click and never like it.
Yeah.
Because they can't understand it. Because I'll just add in words that are kind of like douchily long. Like I'll say permeates or some shit like that, just for no reason. That doesn't even like mean it.
That I think is
I mean?
really important to highlight is disqualifying, right? Like, cause like a lot of people have this concept of like making money online. Maybe it's a scam, sales, like car sales, whatever. But people like Leo, and like I agree with this, is you go about, and Jacob Inside, who's also going to be on this channel, sales coach, surgical sales, who's big on this too, is like disqualifying the prospect, right? Like you don't want to work with it, you don't want to work with, and like, and it's a complete flip the script of like, I need you to give me money and I want your business.
Yeah, big facts. What reduces friction a lot, because what you're really looking to do is have a positive sum game. Like everything ever stood and could be positive sum, like in a perfect world. So if you're selling or you're doing anything, you're like, if you can generate that, then good to go. Like everyone's happy. Good commerce.
Isn't it sad that that's like not obvious?
It is what it is.
I think it's sad.
Yeah, it's because people don't know how to sell. Like people like, and if they fuck up because they stop selling. And in reality, you never stop selling.
And the parallel I see with that, with like the personal development, like spiritual shit, is, people like bounce between extremes of like all about other people and too self-centered, and they need to integrate, and it needs to be that positive sum game, like area of the spectrum that Leo's referring to. People struggle with that in business a lot. That's another personal business problems, right? Like, is it all about the customer? Is it all about the business? For example, I talked to somebody a couple months ago about he was running into an issue where like his friend wanted to work with him on a business deal, and he was already like focused on his own agency, and he was struggling a little bit to like draw that boundary. So he's like, oh, maybe I'll just do like lead gen for y'all. And then it brought up the conversation. It was a group setting. Me and a few of the guys in the community, like those, when you have to navigate a relationship that's business and personal. Yeah. People have different takes about this, right? Like I have a take that disagrees with a lot of spiritual self-development. If there's okay, so in a perfectly kumbaya, inner peace, purpose-driven, love-driven, we are all one perspective, if that's the only lens you're looking through, of course you don't want it to be transactional. And that's been my strength, right? Like to the point where I've sacrificed so much like money and marketing and positioning and whatever. So about the people. But if you're integrating in business incentives such as money and contracts, and you are playing a role for me in a business where there's skin in the game and stakes and, expectations, then I'm sorry, but there's an irrevocable transactional aspect to it. So like, I'm not going to show up to a friend in a work dynamic the same way that I'm showing up to maybe that same friend when we're just chilling. Like the expectations, like you need to be able to have respect for them as like them wearing that hat. Bless you.
Yeah, she did.
Like, for example, I would have this issue like when I was managing restaurants, right? Like some friendships, we were able to wear those two hats where it's like, oh, I'm going to tell you to do this. Like, oh, come on, dog. You're not going to let me do this. It's like, bro, like what? I'm trying to run the floor of this restaurant right now. Like you need to listen to what I'm saying. I'm not trying to tell you what to do as your homie. Like do this. Like, because in a friend dynamic, purely, I would never be like, you need to do this.
So I would say it's disrespectful for the friend to not just fucking do what you say before you even say it.
Right.
That's the frame that I would take.
Right.
Like you got to beat each other's sophistication.
Right.
Because if you know, oh, I just fucking dropped the plate, Trina, my manager, is like, gonna fucking tell me to pick it up. Yeah, exactly. Like just fucking, like you got to be like, fuck.
Yeah.
And just beat them on, like you just have to be a step ahead. Yeah. So they don't get put in the position to have to pull a string like that.
Yeah.
Because I'd imagine, was that the same experience you had with the ones that it worked with? That was probably what happened.
Yeah, with the ones that worked with, and also me in like the follower role of like managers, right? Like managers sometimes be like, oh, I'm not supposed to be hanging out with y'all. But because the implication is that we wouldn't respect you. Like, oh, the manager, we went out for drinks last night. So now when you tell me what to do, or if I show up late, I want to be able to get away with it. The relationships that it works out with in hospitality, it never went like that. There was a mutual respect. It was like, okay, you're my manager on the floor right now. We're in this shift. And you tell me what to do, and you say it with no sugarcoating, I'm fucking running out on the floor. And the other way, it's like friendships like, oh, Trino, we just like have been partying together, and now like I'm showing up 10 minutes late. You're gonna get mad at me, and what? Fuck you. And it's like, no, fuck you. What the hell? Like,
Yeah.
And you need somebody who can be able to respect you in two different types of ways. What was the kickoff points for this again?
Business and friendship.
Yeah.
With the person who is struggling to
But you said
something.
something.
Going to do lead gen for us.
You said something about that reminded me of that, and I totally just lost.
You got to beat them on sophistication.
Yeah.
You got to just not put them in the position that they have to pull the string.
Yeah.
Yeah.
But when it works, it's fire.
Yeah, of course.
Fire.
Fire as fuck. It's like a school project.
Yeah. Yeah. And it makes you be better too, because like you really care about each other, and you need to be better for each other.
Yeah. Exactly. I think that might be a good spot to call it, because dinner I know, but we should definitely run this back.
I'm hungry. Thanks for coming on, Leo.
Yeah.
I did not expect you to be my first podcast.
Yeah, what the fuck?
I just met Leo.
I landed on my feet. That's good.
When did I? Last week?
Last week, yeah. Thursday.
I have this long list of people I've known in the online space forever that I've been like, well, you want to come on my YouTube channel? Leo just cut the line casually.
Yeah,
but yeah, what's your Twitter and shit? Where do you want people to find you?
My Twitter is LXMore_. You can find me on YouTube at Leo Moore as well. That's pretty much it. If you want to learn about business, go to school.com, SKOOL/software at SOPHRN.
Fire. He's a really good teacher too. Makes shit simple to understand.
Sometimes. Bye. Thanks for having me. Appreciate it.
Much love, guys.
Yeah.